Hello everyone, my name is Fedro and this is Cozy Veggie, and on this channel we cover a variety of things such as video essays, reviews, JRPGs, and all things cozy gaming. Today I kind of just wanted to do a very chill, talkative rant and video about the current state of the Nintendo Switch 2 and the announcement of it, the reveal of the presentation / direct, and the aftermath that came along with it, and where we're all sitting at right now. I know that the discourse for the Switch 2 might be a little tired, but I wanted to really reflect on this whole debacle that's happening right now after the fact that we've had the direct and presentation, because let's be real, a lot has happened in the past week alone, whether it comes to the direct itself and all the stuff that was contained in that direct, articles and all the information that we got after the fact, and then of course me being an American, the current state of the American economy and how that has impacted sales for the Switch. Even though this console has not been out and released yet, there has been so much that is happening for this console that it's going to be a long one for the journey, or at least the beginning for this console's life cycle. So I just wanted to talk about it, just talk about my thoughts and opinions about the console, the hardware, the software, the whole physical and digital fiasco with the Switch 2, and of course I wanted to hear your thoughts and opinions as well. So we first heard about the Nintendo Switch, I forgot the exact date, but I know we heard that the Nintendo Switch 2 was in fact going to be released in the fiscal year, within the fiscal year, and this was around, I can't remember, I don't know if this was June or April or whatever, but I do remember we heard that of course Nintendo was working on the Switch 2 around sometime, I want to say summer or fall of 2024. So before that, there were rumblings and hints on whether or not, we all knew that Nintendo was developing the new next hardware for the company. We just didn't know whether or not it was going to be the Switch successor or a whole completely new console. And of course, since there was so much hype and media and lots of rumors being spread, Nintendo had to squash those rumors and officially stated themselves that yes, they are indeed working on a new Switch, which is now called the Switch 2. And it wasn't until January 2025 where we got the first actual official reveal from Nintendo themselves of what the Nintendo Switch 2 looked like. It had a bigger form factor, magnetic Joy-Cons, a possible mouse mechanics, and a bigger screen. And that's all that we really got from it. It wasn't until April 2nd, 2025, where we got the full rundown of the system. And I remember being super excited for that direct. That day of the direct, I actually had class that morning. Yes, I had class at 6:30 in the morning, but luckily my teacher was running late, so we got pushed back the lecture, or my class didn't start until 7 a.m. that day. And so I was literally in my car watching the entirety of the Switch 2 direct. And if we're just gonna talk about the Switch 2 direct in the first presentation of what it is, I think it was a pretty solid direct and presentation of what the Switch 2 is, what the features that we're getting from it, the graphic updates, as well as all of the software coming along with it, whether that be first party or third party developers. I will remember being super hyped seeing all the new stuff, the mechanics of the mouse aspect of it, and having 120 FPS on handheld mode, as well as seeing 4K upscaling on the docked mode, and just seeing all the first party games look absolutely breathtaking. Literally Breath of the Wild was breathtaking with the graphic overhaul. So it got me really pumped, as well as looking at the new Mario Kart World, the new Donkey Kong game. The first party games looked pretty cool, and of course the third party support came in clutch. I'm talking about Elden Ring, Final Fantasy Remake, Cyberpunk 2077. There were a lot of games that came out of this that I was really excited for. And of course, we had new stuff coming out too with From Software, which was a huge one with the Dustbloods. Crazy, did not expect to see a Nintendo exclusive From Software game. I don't know if I'll play it or not, but it's still really cool that we have our own, as if I'm Nintendo itself. Nintendo fans have it for themselves, a whole From Software game dedicated to themselves. I know probably down the line it'll probably become like a it'll probably be a timed exclusive, is what I'm trying to say, but it's really cool though. The amount of software and the amount of games that are coming out on launch day is crazy. And I cannot forget NSO is dropping GameCube games, which is about time. So there was a lot of plenty things to play on day one compared to day one launch titles that came on the Switch 1. We're eating really well for those who want to get the Switch 2 on launch day. Even if you don't physically get any physical games that are new, fresh to the console, you have a plethora of other games to pick from. However, when this direct was going, one thing that kept on my mind that I was just like, that's a little weird, is that they never showcased the price. And I think they did that for a reason. We didn't get the price announcement until half an hour or 45 minutes or so after the direct from news articles. And the price definitely took the wind out of my sails, I'm not gonna lie, at the time. The base model Nintendo Switch 2 console is going to be $449 USD, and I'm speaking as a USD perspective. And then if you want to get it bundled with Mario Kart World, it is going to be $499. Now, for a lot of us, I don't know if that was in our ballpark, because I thought I was hoping that it'd be at least $399. But now that I've had time to sit with the direct and the pricing, it kind of makes sense, especially with the amount of graphics that we're getting and the software and hardware overhaul that we're getting with this console. I think it's a little bit justified. It's still really expensive, but it's a lot. I think what really took me for a loop was the pricing of the video games, especially when it came to first party. Mario Kart World is selling at a whopping $79.99, $80, plus tax and shipping. That could be anywhere from $83 to $85. It is mind-boggling to think Nintendo could justify a game being worth $80. In this economy, and I will get to the tariff whole situation later, but that's crazy. I saw a TikTok the other day of someone talking about it must be crazy times for especially in the gaming industry where children have to justify to their parents, yeah, I wanted the new console and a new game for my console. Yeah, it's $80. If I were to if I was a kid and I wanted to ask my parents for a new game that was $80, they'd laugh in my face, truly. What I find really funny is that Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo America, pretty much stated the response to the pricing is that, well, if you're too broke, just buy the Switch 1. He didn't say it in those words, but it pretty much implied that, which I found very crazy. I get it, they want it to be under the Switch family of systems, the Switch 1, Switch Lite, and now the Switch 2. But it's kind of crazy to price it at that point, especially knowing that Japan has its own specific Japanese locked console that's at $349. So it's really, and they made it locked for a reason, because they don't want people outside the world buying the Japanese console and getting it at a cheaper price, which is why they locked it to be, or region locked it, which is interesting. That's a whole weird debate in itself. But yeah, for me, when I heard the pricing for both the console and the games for it, it kind of put me off a little bit. I knew going into this direct and presentation, if there weren't going to be any games that I knew that I wanted to play at launch, I probably would wait till at least the holiday time to buy the Switch 2. For me, those games were either going to be Fire Emblem, a new Xenoblade Chronicles game, or Animal Crossing. If any of those three games were going to be on this or in this direct, I'd probably get the Switch 2 on day one. But since those three games weren't on there, I'm pretty okay holding off getting the Switch 2 for a while, or at least for a good couple months. I also just want to see other people and their experiences with the console, and I also want to know how backwards compatible this console is, because they did showcase some games that were backwards compatible or upgraded games, especially when it came to the first party, but they didn't really take into account of the third party games and how they're upscaled or whether or not they run. They had a good list on their site of all the games that are seeing some startup issues. So that's kind of a little up in the air, because I do have a pretty sizable Nintendo Switch backlog, and it'd be really sad if I can't really play any of them. I'd pretty much rather just play them on my OG Switch or my OLED. On top of that, the whole debacle of the whole physical media aspect and the look of the physical carts, or at least the packaging that it comes with, I don't know. I'm not upset with it like other people are. I'm it is what it is. But when it comes to the whole game key and having to download the game onto your card and knowing that you don't really fully own the game, is definitely kind of not a slap in the face, but it definitely is deterring for those who are physical collectors to physically collect games. I don't know, I feel like the way that Nintendo went about this console and pushing it so far can definitely be kind of disheartening. And I do worry that this could be influential to other developers and other gaming companies to bump up their pricing on their games, because they're like, well, if Nintendo can do it, why can't I? And I'm like, that's maybe a trend that you shouldn't follow. But it's going to be very interesting to see how the Nintendo Switch 2 plays out in the next year or so, because I feel like within the first year, I feel like people who are hardcore gamers, who are very like avid Nintendo fans, will definitely pick up this game. But I'm really curious as to see how the casual market will approach this console, because I feel like Nintendo is known to have a lot of casual, beginner-friendly consoles, not consoles, but I feel like they're very more leaning into the casual market compared to like PS5 and Sony and Xbox. I definitely do think, and I've seen plenty of people who have never gamed in their life own a Nintendo Switch of some capacity, or have some type of games or game only on Nintendo Switch. So I'm really curious as to how the casual and market will perceive it, because when I think of casual, I think of, like, again, people who don't game that much, or parents or family members who might want to buy a Switch for it. Like, for instance, one of my classmates, she is a mom, and her son has been asking for a Switch for a while, or wanted to get a Switch for her son, but noticed that the pricing on that was a lot. And so she's like, maybe I should just bid him the original OG Switch, because that pricing is kind of intense. And I don't blame her. But yeah, it's very interesting. But since I've gotten my opinions out of the way, I decided to ask you guys your opinions. So I posted on my community post as well as my Twitter, and I just want to share some of your thoughts. So we have Jessica Bagley. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing these names wrong. But she said, I'm excited for GameCube on NSO. The hardware and games as a collector. I'm not crazy at all about the new look of the game cases. I know, silly. We have Ara Beauty 3998 with, I'm also not that excited at this moment because I already have a Steam Deck and PC, and Steam games are a lot cheaper. The console looks great, but there's not a lot of new games to look forward to play, third party or Nintendo. I expected an announcement for a new Mario game or Fire Emblem or a great JRPG, which I totally agree with. We also have Matthew 777 2005. It was an excellent direct. I want this console so much, and I'm worried about scalpers. I signed up on Nintendo Store that day. No guarantees that I'll be chosen. I'm going to try and get one from Best Buy. I just want one. The hardware exceeded my expectations. We also have Sylvie MK, hey, with the direct was great and the games look stunning, especially the side-by-side Zelda footage they showed in the Treehouse presentation. I feel like they really considered a lot of the negative feedback the Switch got about hardware not being as powerful, and addressed those issues with the Switch 2. My biggest concern is that the games will be really expensive, like Mario Kart Tour is listed at $80 USD right now, which is probably going to translate to around $100 Canadian, which is pretty steep in my opinion. If other games follow suit with high pricing, it might be the console I invest in for enhanced performance over exclusive titles. We have another one from David 4702 saying, I like that they didn't announce many games for 2026. Nintendo is clever by releasing games throughout time. This way, there will be another direct later this year with many great games to follow, and yes, the prices are way too high. We had the Queen G2282 with Nintendo killed it. Amazing direct. I don't care about the prices. I think well deserved. Can't wait for June. We also have Deport Nov, NOV. I was initially pretty high on it immediately following the direct, but I'm thinking that maybe I'm not as interested in it as I thought I would be after things have settled. I have a Steam Deck and PC setup which takes care of third-party games, and there are not a ton of first-party games I'm interested in at launch. I'm most interested in Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, but that's really it right now. I'm not interested in any Switch 1 or 2 upgrades either. If I don't end up getting the Switch 2 plus Mario Kart World bundle, I'll probably wait till the end of the year at the earliest to grab a Switch 2 if I still want it at that point. And we have Shadow Squid 1351 with great hardware, awesome games announcements, especially the Dustbloods and Donkey Kong Bonanza. GameCube games added is cool. The enhanced Switch 1 games idea is good and fair. The $80 Mario Kart World is weird. Some people are saying the tariffs are the reason. Some don't buy. Only time will tell. which kind of leads into the whole tariff situation. If you don't know, the president of this country has decided to impose tariffs on around the world, making us public enemy number one for everyone, pretty much essentially, and has put a pause on a lot of stuff that's going on in terms of like electronics, cars, food, clothing, and of course with the Nintendo Switch, it made such huge impact in the economy that it literally plummeted our US economy for a hot minute. But it also put a lot of companies in perspective as to what they're going to do when it comes to selling their products. Hence why Nintendo decided to put a pause on the pre-orders both here in the US and Canada, because they want to really figure out what's happening with the tariff situation, which also puts into question, with that in mind, that the prices might even go up more than they anticipated, which people are already not happy with to begin with. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next coming weeks to months leading up to the release of this console. I am excited to see more people get their hands on it, to see how it really runs and how it plays and how it really compares to other current gen consoles like the PS5 and Xbox Series consoles. Like I said before, I'm probably not going to get this console day one. However, I'm really excited to see other people get to play this game on launch and to see how it really plays out in the years to come. I would also, again, love to hear your guys' opinions about what your current state is and your feelings on whether you're going to get the Switch 2 on launch, whether you're going to wait it out, or you're just entirely going to skip this generation altogether. Again, if you guys enjoyed this little casual, non-scripted video, I hope you guys hit that like and subscribe button, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. Bye.